give me the high sign then. Very good. 7 o'clock, Monday evening, first Monday in December. I'm going to call Gardner City Council to order and invite everyone in attendance to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening. Thank you everyone for coming. First item on the agenda, the star of the last city council meeting, Laura Gorley, taking the podium for a public hearing for the amending the budget.
So, good evening. As you know, many times I come up here and I see things such as disclosure compliance, governing body policy decision, or housekeeping. This one hits 2 of 3. As you know, you adopt any given year's budget the August of the prior to that fiscal year, so 16 months prior to when a budget actually finishes. And in that time, things can change. Kansas statutes permit you to amend your budget as long as you go through the same process with a hearing and a vote that you do during an original budget, including a notice of publication, which occurred on November 22nd news and on the city website. And it also says that you can change your budget as long as the requirement that increased expenditures need to be balanced by increased revenues other than property taxes. So since this budget amendment is only for the infrastructure special sales tax fund, we will never run afoul of the property tax requirement because it is only funded by special sales tax. So with that being said, to make a long story shorter, the cause of this housekeeping technical amendment for the proposed is the purposeful delayed implementation of cash-funded projects. From when we created the 17 budget in August 16, we assumed we'd pay for the bridges, the trails in 16, and we didn't, because the finance director might have held them up until there was sufficient cash to pay for them in 17, but we didn't move the placeholders as well. And there are the bond proceeds that we need to show in and out. So that is, in a nutshell, what we're doing tonight. As I said, we're in compliance with the statute because we're not dealing with property taxes, and we did notice as appropriate.
And we don't have to wait for public comments on this because I would entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion Harrison, second Shoot, that we open a public hearing for amendment of the fiscal year 2017 budget. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? Public hearing is open. Anyone wishing to speak, approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. That seems like a suitable interval. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion Winters, second Melton, that we close the public hearing. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? The public hearing is closed.
So I'll be back for new business 1.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is a fun one. Because we've got a proclamation of recognition. I'm going to wander around here. This involves some things that happened at from the athletic department at Gardner Edgerton High School. Trent, why don't you and your mom come join me up here for this? Now, I understand. Trent, do you know how to say Mia's last name?
Do I say, oh, Mia's, anymore?
Yeah. That's all right. I was going to ask her. But you know, it's pretty impressive that we've got 2 juniors in the same year finishing in first place in their team yet individual sports. And this year, Trent was one of 2, Mia being the other, winning the 6A Girls Golf Championship. It's a heck of an accomplishment, and I've got a proclamation that I'm going to read. So, whereas the mission of the Gardner Edgerton School District is to empower all students to meet the challenges of the future, and whereas 2 athletes from Gardner Edgerton High School recently triumphed over all challengers in state athletic competitions, and whereas Mia Tovkach, we'll say, a junior at GEHS, won the 6A Girls Golf Championship title, her second such title in 3 years, also helping her team to place 6th overall in the event, a new school best team finish, and also winning the Sunflower League Individual Championship. And whereas Trent Cochran, a junior at GEHS, won the 6A Boys State Championship title in cross country, was first team Eastern Kansas League, first team regional, first team state, and first team KC Metro as a sophomore, and was ranked 7th in the state in all classes 1A through 6A prior to the state championship. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the governing body of the City of Gardner, Kansas, extend to these students recognition for their outstanding athletic achievements by spreading upon the official records of the Gardner City Council a copy of this proclamation of recognition. Congratulations.
Like this way, please.
Isn't that the way it works?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Best of luck in your senior season and in the upcoming track campaign. We do have a copy of the proclamation for Mia that we will get to her as soon as possible. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. For those coming forward to speak, I will caution you to limit your comments to 5 minutes or less, avoid personal attacks or profanity. With that, step forward, state your name and address for the record, and be heard.
Sorry. Not on turn. My name is Gary Carson. I live at 140 Brittany Court. No theatrics tonight. Nobody's going to throw me out, so I'll be very respectful. We've got a pretty major issue that I brought to the attention of Mr. Kramer and a few of the other council members here about the crossing at Main and Center Street here. When you push the audible button, the audible indicator says go, the light comes on, but as you cross, the lights are still green. And this past week, I almost died again. This is the 3rd time it's happened at this intersection alone. This time when the car came screaming around the corner, because it had a green light, of course. It actually had to lock up and came within about 1.5 feet of hitting me. My dog was on my lap. Had my dog been out in front of me, he'd be dead. I have taken this to the attention to the city of Gardner a long time ago, and nothing's been done about it. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask Cheryl for permission to let Mr. Kramer do his job, to answer emails. This is not really a matter or importance of ADA, but this is overall public safety. I wish the Gardner Police Department could do their job as well. They're not being allowed to. Like I said, this is a very serious public safety hazard involving all pedestrians, especially our children. We've talked about crosswalk safety in the past. The new crosswalk safety campaign is not working. We're not looking at this the right way. Wherever the city is getting its information from to put these huge ads in one newspaper, it's not working. I'm out there every day. A lot of you don't walk or get out in the city. I'm out with my dog twice a day, every day. We average 7 to 8 miles every single day. So I see everything. And unfortunately, people don't stop. Even if you have little blinky lights, they don't stop. It doesn't matter. I've got a strobe light that I carry with me when I go out tonight. And even with this, which you can see from 2 miles away, cars still pull in front of me. So the crosswalk campaign isn't working. I don't blame Mr. Kramer at all. Matter of fact, Mr. Kramer was the only one that came back to me and offered me an apology after a friend of mine died. I traded him one federal violation of ADA for 16 violations against the city, because nobody really wants to listen to my suggestions. I tried for 3.5 years. And you know, when Chris, you read that, okay, the Justice Department is investigating, this isn't 2 or 3. This is an avalanche. You have no idea what you're about to be hit with. I've invited other wheelchair users and visually disabled or impaired persons into the city to go on walking tours in various places. So this is going to be a lot bigger than you expected. And like I said, I tried my best for 3.5 years not to do this, but I was ignored. Now you're going to spend $50,000. You spent 70 grand for a new system here. You're going to spend 50 grand on ADA with what? You got a $14 million budget? Wow. So that means you've got over $1 million in ADA improvements that need to be made. So I guess in the next 20 years we'll get around to taking care of everyone. The other issue I want to talk about is the in-road signage down here. I have pleaded with the police department. I have pleaded with Mr. Kramer. I am pleading with you today as the city administrator. We have yet another visually impaired resident who just moved into Brittany Court and was almost hit at the Brittany Court crossing after pushing the line and the little blinky lights coming on. Can we please get our sign in the middle of the road again? Can we please get it back? That's where the whole program started. That's where the signage started, at that crosswalk.
Okay.
That's where the entire program started. Can we please do something? Got 5 minutes?
That's 5 minutes.
Cool. Thank you very much. Yeah. Have a great evening. And,
Thanks for coming in this evening, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
See you guys.
Do we have anyone else for public comments? No one else coming forward? We'll move on to the consent agenda. I will make note, consent agenda item number 3. I think I'm going to get this right, Amy, but one of the people that was asking for a CMB for consumption on premises hasn't given us everything that we require just yet. So out of the 10 different requests, applicants. We're looking for approval on 9, but not the one for Lou and Lou Incorporated doing business as Haywa Restaurant.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
on 4, I was looking at the agreement with Burns and McDonnell. There was one of the language changes from our red line, which didn't get picked up in the final draft. So if we can just make that subject to city attorney approval, it's some indemnity language. Number 4 on the consent agenda.
Okay. So we've got one applicant that has been removed, and consent agenda item number 4, subject to city attorney approval. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Yep. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remove item number 5, please.
Item 5. Okay,
And I was planning on removing item number 4, so.
all right. So, consent agenda items number 1 through 3.
So moved. Second.
Motion winners, second shoot that we approve consent agenda items 1 through 3. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Items 1 through 3 pass. Consent agenda item number 4, Councilman.
Yes, I was just basically trying to get a little bit more information on this particular item regarding the design aspect of this. Is this being done?
That question too.
Yeah, is this being done in concert with the KDOT study? Are they working with us on this? And I saw that there were some proposals that were put together for design. One of them said that this particular agreement required that they look at a roundabout solution on these particular approaches, which I find to be interesting that they would require that they offer a roundabout as a solution. But wanted to ask about those and see if we could get some clarification on that.
Mike?
Yeah, this is in conjunction with KDOT. KDOT's reviewed the scope of services and the fee as well, and
Okay.
are in agreement with that. As far as the alternatives that they'll look at, our original application for funding was based on the concept of roundabouts. And so as far as flushing out alternatives and such, yes, they will review that as one of the alternatives, as well as several others.
Is that the reason why it's required, though, because we did put that in the original application to KDOT for?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. All right.
And I do have here this evening just Howard Loveliner from Burns and McDonnell, and so I just wanted to say.
Okay, great.
Well, we've got the design team in the house if you've got a question for them, but
Just before you do the roundabouts, go visit Gardner. Just saying.
Yeah,
all right. I say go to Emporia. I think the one there works great. So,
We don't have that kind of space. That's the problem.
so yeah, actually, I did have a question for the design team if they are here and would like to
sure.
answer a couple of questions really quickly.
How's it going?
Yes.
Howard Loveliner, Burns and McDonnell.
Nice to meet you. So we're very. This is a very crucial interchange, an intersection. You know that obviously it's a very high priority for not only us but hopefully for KDOT to get done. For arterial roadways in particular,
Sure.
like Center Street, Gardner Road. How often do you see those kind of issues resolved through the use of roundabouts at the interchange, on and off ramps?
Sure. So there's a couple of different examples of what we would call sort of a dumbbell type intersection interchange, where we use roundabouts at the 2 ramp termini. I'm trying to think. Maybe just 1 or 2 on the Kansas side, certainly a couple on the Missouri side, and then like K7 and Johnson Drive has a single roundabout. So it is a treatment that is used. It is not super common. The issue we have here is with the proximity of 191st Street to the ramps. That's sort of the issue, is that if we can't get enough positive separation between them and we end up with a five-legged intersection, that the roundabout is one of the most effective ways to handle a multi-leg intersection.
Sure. The reason why I asked that question is because from the standpoint of pedestrian access, I've heard all sorts of issues, problems with roundabouts with regard to pedestrian access. If we're looking to open up south of the interstate, ultimately with a new bridge deck to pedestrians, to me, that kind of runs counter to what we would be doing from the standpoint of traffic mitigation at a roundabout.
So absolutely. So bicycle and pedestrian accommodations will be part of the overall study and the evaluation of the different interchange types. So we have not predetermined specifically what interchange type. We'll consider a lot of things, and pedestrian and bike accommodations will be part of that. We're considering also means in which to carry, the facilities come down now from the north to 191st Street, but don't carry on down south to the school. So we'll be considering those accommodations. There are ways to do some sort of like mid-block crossings and pull those pedestrians off away from the roundabout proper. So it is a valid point and something we will consider.
Okay. One last question. Would there be a pedestrian overpass potentially as part of this if we were to decide to go in that direction?
So the likelihood is, so right now part of the analysis that we're doing is with the existing bridge. It is sort of right on that threshold of reaching the end of its useful life.
Yes,
more than likely, my guess would be that whatever pedestrian accommodations we would do would be brought as part of the new bridge, when the new bridge is built. But our plan with the entire project is to make sure that the approach roadways, both on the north side, accommodate that future bridge with both the roadway and the bike accommodations.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. Anybody else want to hop in?
I just did have one thing, and maybe
Yes.
since we have so much, traffic going to that 191st, does it make any sense to have a specific exit for 191st where it goes underneath the bridge, and then where we have a ramp over there where they could connect to 191st, a separate ramp for that? Kind of like the way you see 87th Street and 75th, where there's like, okay, you go up this way and then you go this way, to alleviate some of that.
Yes, so part of the interchange concepts that we looked at, just sort of, lines on a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yes, do consider some of that. There are some broader issues that, depending on how much modification we make, if that impacts I-35 significantly, that's going to bring KDOT into the fold a lot more, and potentially federal oversight into the fold a lot more, and that does not expedite the process.
Yeah, I'm okay if they're bringing money.
Yes. So it is one of the considerations. At this point, we have taken nothing off the table, including moving the ramps around.
All right,
Great.
thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
If you have any questions, call me. I'm available.
All right, well, thank you.
I can draw like really crazy.
Thank you, Howard.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion on consent agenda. Oh, you want to go with?
Well, we just do each one individually. That's fine.
Yeah.
Some of
Second.
Motion should second Harrison that we approve consent agenda item number 4. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Consent agenda item number 4 passes. Consent agenda item number 5. Councilman?
I was curious about a few things, and I kind of wanted to hear from the chief on this particular subject. Specifically, I'm looking to understand what training requirements are going to be, licensing, what kind of policy are we going to have in place for use of this device, or guidelines that are going to be provided for officers to use it.
Well, we are going to have specific training guidelines that we're going to train in-house, like Olathe, like Johnson County did, to try to mitigate the expense of getting certified to go do commercial things. And we've done the research looking into licensing and stuff, and we're not required to do that. What the last thing we looked at from that standpoint was liability. Checked with NPR, they will insure the actual drone, but we had to go outside to look at liability insurance. But we will do our training in-house. Not everybody's gonna have access to the drone. We will have somebody on each shift that is trained to utilize it in the appropriate manner, and that's it. Not everybody's just gonna run in and grab it and take off.
What kind of expected service life are you hoping to get out of this particular drone?
It's a good question. Typically, the drones will last with proper maintenance for 10 plus years. You know, it's for this particular drone, they don't have a life cycle, but they're very durable, and this is a professional commercial grade drone. It's a lower level. It's not one of them that you go out and make movies with, but the capabilities are great for law enforcement as far as the things that we're looking to use it for.
So, what other models did you consider? And I mean, you settled on this one for a specific reason?
Yeah, they have an Inspire 2 that has additional capabilities, but nothing that we would be looking at. It's most of the capabilities with the Inspire 2 were upgraded cameras that we wouldn't utilize, that we have no use for. There is another model, it's the next one up, that is significantly more expensive. And again, that's typically used for movie making, so it's not something we need. This particular model will do interchangeable lenses. It'll do the FLIR, the infrared, which is what we were looking for in particular. This is the one that through the process of elimination that Johnson County picked, that Olathe picked. So we have the capability for large scenes to interchange lenses if that's a need that arises.
So one of the things that I read that was a benefit of the Inspire 2 over the Inspire 1 was redundancy. So
for the two
batteries, 2 IMUs, 2
right.
barometers. So that's not a factor for you guys? You don't fear the thing falling out of the sky and then have to replace that?
No, the 2 is not a redundancy for actual flight. One of them will control the camera, the other one will control flight. Just in my experience, and I have one, I have the Phantom. It's not there's really no need for that. You're capable of, I use the goggles. I'm capable of flying it, operating the camera at the same time. Actually, it's pretty intuitive in that regard. There's no need for somebody to be doing both or doing them separately.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions? Chief, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Consent agenda item number 5. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Moore, second Harrison, that we approve consent agenda item number 5. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Consent agenda item number 5 passes. Committee recommendation number 1. Consider a recommendation to authorize the city administrator to execute a contract with Integrity Locating Services, LLC for utility locating services effective January 1st, 2018. Gons, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. For many years, the city have used a company, USIC, for locating utilities for the city of Gardner. On September 6th, we received an email from them requesting an amendment to the current contract due to new pricing structure. The staff was directed to conduct an RFP process to obtain proposal from several locating companies and to obtain a comparison of the services. So a RFP was advertised on September 27th. 10 companies requested the documentation and only 2 companies responded, including USIC. The second company is Integrity Locating Services. They're out of Overland Park. A selection committee was formed. The information was reviewed, and on the attachment, you have a summary of the price structures for USIC and Integrity Locating Service. You have an option 1, option 2 on USIC. the main difference between option 1 and option 2 is that on option 1, they wanted to transfer some of the liability to the city. Now, you look at and the other thing on USIC, that all the prices are based on a 30-minute locating time. Prior to the request, prior to this new pricing structure, they used to do it on a 90-minute, an hour and a half, to locate utilities. On the integrity side, the price to locate the utilities based on 1 hour. So the committee went ahead and estimated the cost for locating 4 utilities using the various options. And as you can see, integrity locating service provides the lowest cost. And integrity locating service, on the average, will identify 4 utilities within 1 hour. So worst case scenario is that they will do it in, the cost to locate 4 utilities will be 56, which is far below the other prices from USIC. So the selection committee unanimously agreed that integrity locating service will meet the requirements and provided a lower cost. The funding will be coming out of the electric, water, wastewater, and public works 2018 fund.
Okay. Public comments regarding committee recommendation number 1. No one coming forward. Questions for Guns regarding committee recommendation number 1?
I had one
Steve?
really quickly, and it was more of probably a presentation type of question. For the USIC bids, you have 2 options, each one of them for 3 years. So 2018, 19, 20, and 21, actually 4 years. For integrity, we have one bid. Is that for 1 year, or is that for all 4 years?
That's good for, on the, during the evaluation, that price is good for the next 4 years.
4 years?
Yep.
That's very
Very
good.
significant savings.
That is significant.
Excellent.
Excellent. Okay, so that's, I just wanted to make sure that was where we let them all for 4 years, so this is a 4-year contract, so, thank you.
I have a question. Guns, I'm assuming in the RFP that there are specific requirements regarding the SLAs around getting these locates completed. Did you look at any performance criteria between the two, and are you concerned at all? I mean, typically my experience is the lower cost providers usually may take longer to respond to some of these because they're stretched a little thinner. So did you have access to any of that information?
Since they have not done Gardner, but on the information they presented, 95% are located within the established time frame.
Okay, great, thanks.
Anyone else?
So I guess if we
Rich, go ahead.
find out later that they're not, I mean, we have something in this contract that allows us, if they're not following up in time, to fix that, or is there a back charge that we can do for them if they're not?
Usually the contract, there is a termination clause, and we could terminate it.
Just, I mean, it's like one of those deals that seems too good to be true, so I'm excited.
Now, this company is the one that they do the locates for Google Fiber Optics. So they're pretty well established.
Okay, all right, that's great. Let's try them out.
Anyone else? If not, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Melton, second Harrison. We authorize the city administrator to execute a contract with Integrity Locating Services, LLC, for utility locating services effective January 1st, 2018. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Committee recommendation number 1 passes. Committee recommendation number 2. Consider a recommendation to authorize city administrator to execute contracts for from multiple vendors for the purchase of chemicals for water treatment. Guns.
Yeah, prior to 2015, in my understanding, the city will do an annual chemical purchase bid. Starting in 2015, the city went with a 3-year contract. That contract expires December of this year. So we went ahead and did another solicit bid from various chemical companies. There were 32 responses, 32 inquiries, and 9 companies responded to the request. The low bid for the identified chemical is listed below. We have Calgon Carbon Corporation for active carbon. They have the low bid. DPC Industry for the ammonium sulfate. GEO Specialty Chem for ACH. And then Brentag Mid-South, they have the low bid for the caustic soda, fluoride, chlorine, sodium permanganate, solution calcium polymer, and dry ionic polymer. So those are the low bids that we received. So, and the estimated cost using the quantities we provided on the packet is $264,000, $474 a year. So the funding will be coming out of the Water Fund 2018 O&M budget. So staff is recommending going with the low bid, and it will start January 1st, 2018.
Any public comments regarding committee recommendation number 2? Not that I'm anticipating any.
I just know the water tastes good.
With no one coming forward, questions for Gons regarding committee recommendation number 2? Steve?
You said that it's coming out of the budgeted fund for water. Did we do a budget projection as to how much this renewal would cost? And how did our bids perform vis-a-vis that potential?
If I'm not mistaken, for 2016, the actual chemical usage dollar amount was about $210,000.
Okay.
So this is just an estimate based on historical usage. It could be more or less, depending if we're treating more water or less water.
So based on quantity, we may see some differences.
We may.
Okay.
But I think the number we put is the maximum that we're expecting.
Okay, great. All right, thanks.
Are these items delivered piecemeal, or are they all at once, or like once a year?
Usually depends, but some chemicals are ordered every 2 weeks, like the sodium permanganate. Some of them delivered twice a year, and some once a month.
So no concern about delivery and performance from the companies?
No, because out of the, we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of the 5 chemical companies, 4 are the ones we're using right now. The only new one is Calgon Carbon Corporation.
Is there any minimum amount that we have to purchase for each of these?
I believe it is, but there is a minimum, yeah. For example, on the carbon, you have to buy 1 bag, which is about, I think, 250 pounds.
Okay.
But our usage is a lot more than that, which means that we can get the minimum, it will last longer. But we haven't had any issues buying more chemicals than we actually use.
Okay.
Anyone else? If not, I would entertain a motion on committee recommendation number 2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shute, second Melton, that we accept the low bids for water treatment chemicals as received on October 6, 2017. Authorize the city administrator to execute contracts for the purchase of chemicals for water treatment up to a combined total amount not to exceed $264,474 with Brentags Mid-South, DPC Industries Incorporated, GEO Specialty Chemicals, Calgon Carbon Corporation, and Univar USA Incorporated. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Committee recommendation number 2 passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gons. Next item on the agenda is consider adopting an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2017 budget. Didn't we just have a public hearing about this?
We did.
Very good. Laura, good evening.
Good evening. So, as noted during that public hearing, the fiscal year 2017 budget needs a housekeeping amendment in the infrastructure special sales tax fund due to the purposeful delayed implementation of cash-funded projects for pedestrian trails, greenway bridges, some of the non-bond eligible street rehab project from their original placeholders in the 2016 budget to when they were actually implemented in the 2017 budget, and to also reflect the inflow and outflow of the bond proceeds that we just got last meeting. So this is a timeline shift plus bond proceeds. Once you get them in there, you have to get them back out. And you're permitted to amend your budget as long as your further expenditures are balanced by non-property tax revenues. So you're in compliance.
Great.
Being in compliance is good.
I'm all about compliance.
Yes. Public comments regarding new business item number 1. No one coming forward. Questions for Laura regarding new business item number 1? I'd entertain a motion on ordinance number 2562.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Shute. We adopt ordinance number 2562, amending the fiscal year 2017 budget. City Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Harrison?
Yes.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilman Melton?
Yes.
Councilman Winters?
Yes.
Councilman Shute?
Yes.
2562 passes. Thank you, Laura. That is it for new business items. We are going to have actually 2 executive sessions this evening, but before we get to that, we will do council updates. Staff having anything for council? Chief?
No, sir.
City Clerk?
No, sir.
Laura Gorley?
No, sir.
Nothing from the city attorney and city administrator? Guns?
No, sir.
Larry? There's my guy.
There's
my guy.
Somebody's stepping up.
Real quick, we will be sending out an invitation for groundbreaking next Monday for Project School at the Midwest Commerce Center site which will be Monday the 11th at 10 a.m. So there'll be invitations coming to you all, but we wanted to get the public notified tonight if possible. Hopefully the weather will warm a little bit between now and then. It'll be a little less windy. So.
That would be nice. Michael Kramer.
Yeah, a couple of quick updates. One, I wanted to address Mr. Carson's comments this evening. First of all, Cheryl directs me to do my job, and it's never commented otherwise. But the maintenance center signals do meet the MUTCD guidelines. We have looked at that. Obviously, maintenance center is on a KDOT route. KDOT has approved our signals, our signal timing, etc. And I wanted to explain real quickly what I understand his main concern to be, and that's when you're crossing northbound on Center Street, you know, the right turns coming off of Center on the main, if you have a green pedestrian light, there is a green through light. And with a green ball, you must yield when you make a right turn to pedestrians. And so his complaint is, yes, he'd like a protected signal for the pedestrian, but it's also, you know, the driver's not yielding, is his complaint. But we have asked our traffic engineer to take a look at it to see when would it be appropriate to have a protected pedestrian crossing. But I personally have not seen one in Kansas City. Most of the time, if you have a green pedestrian walk light, there's green through lights at the same time. It's no different than any other signal. But we are, you know, we are taking another step and looking at it just a little bit closer and further. He also mentioned the signs in the street. Currently, and those would be the stop signs that are in the middle that say, you know, yield for a pedestrian. There used to be one at Brittany Court. It was either, I believe that one was destroyed by a vehicle and not replaced because the city currently doesn't have a policy on where we put those. The MUTCD has some very, very vague guidelines on when they're appropriate to use. But the city doesn't have a policy on that. That's something that we are hoping to develop an actual policy on when we use them. Most of the jurisdictions, though, that I'm aware of that have used them in the past around Kansas City no longer use them at all because they do get run over and destroyed and walked off with. We've had several on Madison. They've just disappeared. We are looking at that further. Oh, and one more real quick. I attended last week at Mark, a Communities for All Ages event, and it was, the title of it was Transit-Oriented Development. It was regarding developments around transportation initiatives and ties in directly with the Main Street PSP that we're doing, and had a chance to visit with Brian Sterner following up that he's the Business and Economic Development Director for KCATA. And so we're going to continue to have some conversations about busing to Gardner area.
Good. Fantastic. Danica, you're in my line of sight, so do you have anything for us?
No, he mentioned the groundbreaking, so that was it.
Okay. Do we have anything from the fire district? Okay. Well, before I turn it over to City Council, I want to thank the fire district for coordinating the arrival of Santa at Cornerstone Park. It's always a great treat for him, he's told me, to ride the fire truck over to Cornerstone Park. So thank you for that. And Lee Moore, anything for staff or other council?
Well, I just want to make sure that I don't miss an opportunity to say Merry Christmas to everybody. I wasn't at the event last week, the Mayor's Christmas tree lighting party for the first time in many years for me due to business travel. But I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and happy any other holiday that you might observe that I'm not aware of. That's it.
Okay. Councilman Melton.
A couple things real quick. A couple weeks ago, the crosswalk blinking lights display that we did, I didn't know if you had a chance to follow up any more on any of that to see.
You know, no, I haven't. And one of the things that we are working on is putting out the RFP to do our complete pedestrian plan. And like the policy that I talked about for the signage, I would expect to develop a policy for those types of lights as well.
Awesome. And then I think it was in maybe April last year, I brought up an idea about having a meeting with a bunch of builders and developers come in. And at that time, everybody was ramping up and getting stuff done and doing we talked about Gardner bucks and some other stuff. I didn't know whatever happened to that, because it seemed like this would be the time of year to be doing something like that. Larry?
Thank you, sir. Yes. As a result of that conversation, during the couple of months after that, we met individually with all of our active developers and several others that were looking at the market and have continued to do so. They felt like the individual meetings was more productive for them because they could do it on their time rather than trying to carve some time out of their schedule.
Okay.
We did talk to Jason about whether or not there was some value in some type of incentive from the chamber to work with us for that kind of activity. And his feeling was that although it has some merit, that he didn't feel they had the budget this year to try and do something like that. But as a result of that, I have worked with Danica and Michael and the Parks Department to try and make sure that we cross-coordinate any developer's problem or issue so that we get it coordinated between us if there's something that seems to be going on that for some reason is falling through the cracks. So I think we've done a little better job. We never get it all done 100%, but we have tried to be more communicative and have tried to reach out to the developers and let them know that we want to hear their issues.
Okay. And then the final thing is our excise tax. Did we ever find out what Shawnee was doing over there with theirs, where they were able to cut a certain amount for? Because I'm just going to tell you that I'm talking to developers, and it's still coming up. The amount of tax versus the land cost versus the value of the homes they can build here. We're right at that line where everybody's going, I don't know if I can make money or not if I have to develop new ground. They can work on the existing stuff without a problem.
I did look that up and I thought I reported back, but I'll find that research that I did.
Yeah, and I thought, well, the thing was, I think there's something that they've done where they've got certain areas they waived part of it or something. I think that was what we were going to look into, is how they did that.
Why don't you go ahead and go around the dais and I'll see if we can find my emails on that. So,
okay.
And I'll come back to it.
Okay, that was it for me.
Okay. Councilwoman Harris.
The only other thing I think that Mr. Carson brought up was the sidewalk campaign. And I know he has talked to me multiple times. I don't know if it used to be in the hands of the police department and now it's not, and I don't know, but he feels like it's less effective now than it was before. Are we doing anything special regarding the management of that campaign and just general education?
I was just going to say, the only thing that we haven't done that we've done in the past is that we did not do the mailers, and we just found that if we do them so often, people just typically throw their mail away. So we decided to pull back on that. We had some concerns about the verbiage he wanted us to use, so we did create a new campaign for it, and we did as far as putting it in the newsletter and also making sure we did the news release and all the other tactics that we usually do.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. That all, Christie?
Yep.
Todd?
Got nothing.
Steve?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to kind of follow up on what Christina just said about the crosswalk safety campaign. I think we also have to understand that there's a lot of new people in Gardner. The city's growing, and I think that with that comes all sorts of issues with traffic and not so courteous drivers. I think that from the standpoint of traffic enforcement, that might be something that we could possibly do a better job in terms of getting, doing some interdiction there and issuing some warnings or tickets in those areas where people are clearly not, following the right of way or yielding the right of way, I should say, to pedestrians and things like that. Enforcement will work. Unfortunately, enforcement works better than deterrence, than an education campaign in a lot of cases, and this might be one of them. So, just wanted to mention that. The second thing is I wanted to see if we could get from staff to the governing body a list of all the open positions for all the advisory committees, who controls what positions, and see if we can't get some of those filled, or get some of those people, get some nominations in, because we are really kind of low on a lot of committees. Some of them are not even able to meet right now because of the fact that they're too low on the number of individuals on them. I know the ADA is one of them. I have 3 open positions on that committee, and they need to be filled, but because of the fact that I don't know who has who, and you know, that's a...
And some of it's changing because of...
So it's changing because now we've got a new council, so I'm just kind of throwing it out there to at least those folks that are returning, that they might be able to you know, take a look and see what people are missing.
Well, in the staff contacts, we'll be able to coordinate that hopefully with the city clerk, I would imagine.
That'd be great, but that would be great if we could just have a quick little refresher, something in the Friday Minute Memo or something like that this coming Friday, just to see who's got what positions open. Because some of us who are returning, you know, on the council here, we've kind of not done our due diligence. We've gotten those positions filled, so I'll make sure that that gets done. So
that's all you got?
That's all I got.
We'll see. Ryan, did you have any luck with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when I did research on this back in, I did an email actually the next day following that council meeting back in October of 2016 to Cheryl and Laura and Larry. And basically I did research on all of the surrounding jurisdictions. I did research on Shawnee's exemption. Shawnee's exemption is basically consistent with what Gardner and all the other municipalities have done. They identify their exemption, I'll put quotes around that because it's not really an exemption, it's an abatement. If you agree, if basically you enter into a development agreement with the city of Shawnee to complete specified public improvements. All of the other jurisdictions, including Gardner, also have exemptions and credits if you complete public improvements. So Shawnee basically recognizes what all these other jurisdictions do, which is if you repeal or reduce or actually substantively reduce your excise tax after the 2006 enactment, that it's gone. You can't bring it back. And so they actually haven't touched the level of their excise tax. They've just kind of creatively and are apparently out there marketing as such, advertise it as an exemption when in fact it's an abatement consistent with what we and everybody else does.
I'll let that developer know that then.
Right. So on an additional note, Shawnee's rate, as well as Olathe, Lenexa, Overland Park, and Leawood are all higher than our rate. We're at, I think, 20 cents, and they're at 21.5 cents per square foot. So, you know, actually you all are lower than those other jurisdictions. Rich, I've got this email, I can forward it to you.
That'd be great, because I just want to share it with him and show him, you know, hey, look, here's what's going on with everybody else. So, because my guess is he brought it up again last week, and my guess is somebody's selling him on this, and they don't have all the facts. He just kind of, they tell him and he hears it and then brings it to me. So
okay, it's coming your way right now.
Thank you.
Sometimes you circle back around on me, so I was just making sure. My only comment is thank you to all the city staff that helped put on the Christmas in the Park celebration. I know Parks and Rec gets a lot of credit for it, as they well deserve, but whether it's communicating about the event, providing power for it, providing security, delivering Santa, at all, it's a heavy lift for a very joyous event, and hats off to you. My Santa hats off to everyone that had a hand in helping pull that off. And we do have another council meeting before Christmas. I hope you're going to be able to attend, but if not, Merry Christmas to you.
God willing.
Yes. And I think that's all I've got. We do have 2 executive sessions. One of them's attorney-client privilege. The other one's related to non-elected personnel. Ryan, which one would you like to take first? And
Can we take the non-elected personnel one first, because we've got an outside individual
Sure.
who's going to attend?
you have an idea of how long you'd like?
I think 30 minutes on that.
30 minutes? Okay. Well, I would entertain a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second Melton, that we recess into executive session pursuant to KSA 74-4319B1 to discuss matters related to non-elected personnel, beginning at 7:59 p.m. and returning to regular session at 8:29 p.m. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? We stand in recess. So I'm not, I'll go by
we on?
whichever one's closer to what I want. All right. Entertain a motion to resume regular session.
So,
Second.
Motion Schutz, second Melton, that we resume regular session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
aye.
We are back in regular session. I would entertain a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Winters. That we recess into executive session pursuant to KSA 754319B2 to discuss matters related to attorney-client privilege beginning at, we'll call it 8:30 and returning to regular session at 8:40 p.m. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, any abstention? We stand in recess. entertain a motion to resume regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Morris, second shoot that we resume regular session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. We're back in regular session. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion Harrison, second Melton, then we adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.